Basically, Hunt Showdown in August is doing a huge update, a whole new UI and tons of changes, and it's gotten pretty controversial in the community. And I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of give my perspective of it, being that I'm not one of these thousands of hour player. I'm pretty new to the game still, and I rely somewhat heavily on Necro when I'm playing solo because I don't always have teammates to play with. And you guys know how playing with randos goes. So, yeah, I think it'd be a nice perspective coming from somebody who's, I'm in 3 4 star lobbies. I'm not in 5 and 6s, you know what I mean? So, just from my perspective, I think that'd be a good idea. Let's just get into it.
Hello, I'm Dennis Schwartz, Design Director for Hunt Showdown.
What's up, dude?
Today we are going to talk about our design goals for some of the subtle and substantial game mechanics changing with our August launch. We will be touching on trait changes, reducing stalemates, as well as changes to our gunplay formula. Let us start easy. We are bringing back Witness as a regular trait for everyone to equip in a menu for 5 upgrade points. Witness allows you to see nearby dead hunters and recently deceased monsters in Darkside.
Alright, so I'll pause there. Let me actually go back just a bit. I want to read through this and kind of, I guess, explain for people who don't know. I played a little bit when Witness was around. So basically, what Witness does is, well, let's read it. While in Darkside, dead hunters and monsters are visible, and health restoration is marginally increased when close and highlighted in BW. I think it's gonna be more useful. So I think for squad play, it'll be super strong. I guess being able to see dead hunters in Darksight, there's no way it wouldn't be useful, right? Obviously, with the health restoration, it's pretty much infinite healing. So I'm interested to see how my loadouts will change once I get Witness. Maybe I won't run regen shots. Me personally, I think I will be running regen shots, but maybe I won't. Maybe I won't run vitality shots as much. You don't know, because if I'm playing threes and we get a down hunter, hey, everybody use your restoration real quick. I don't know. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I think it's a good trait. I think it's cool that it's coming back.
This allows you to see nearby dead hunters and recently deceased monsters in Darkside. We are reorganizing the existing trait categories for a more interesting mix of traits and how players can acquire them. No longer are there only regular and burn traits. Instead, some traits will get the burn or scarce attributes, or both.
Alright, so for those who don't know, scarce traits are... Let me try to go back. Scarce traits are only traits that you can find in the world. You can't buy these traits. Whereas burn traits are one-time use. Something I'm pretty excited to see is that now there will be burn traits that aren't scarce traits. If Necro were a scarce trait and a burn trait, it'd be rough. At first, when I first was hearing this, it sounded like when Necro became a burn trait that it was also going to be a scarce trait, but it's not going to. So we're good on that.
Or both. Scarce traits can only be found in the world and cannot be equipped from the menu with upgrade points. Shadow and the returning Shadow Leap are both examples of scarce.
So, the Shadow is one I mentioned earlier. Shadow is only a scarce trait. Shadow, enemies will not react to you. They will not chase you down and attack you. They will react to you, as in bird coops will start activating, things like that. And then Shadow Leap, I played back when Shadow Leap was there during the event. Shadow Leap was so cool. Basically, in Darksight, you could focus on an AI, and once the timer was done, you would leap to their position and kill that AI. Now, it made for some really cool flanks. I'm super excited for this to be back. Made for some really cool flanks, and one thing they're about to mention is that they're no longer going to let it work with meatheads, which I think it's fair. I don't think anybody can deny that it's fair not to let it work with meatheads. That's a little overpowered. So Alright, I'll let him talk.
Traits that are not burn traits remain on your hunter until you're defeated or fail to extract safely. Shadow Leap has been adjusted to no longer work for leaping into meatheads as a balancing node. Most of our existing burn traits are now both burn and scars traits, keeping them consistent with how they worked so far. Rare to find and short-lived, being consumed after they fulfilled their special purpose. However, we have adjusted some of their stack sizes. For example, you can now only keep a single instance of Death Cheat on your hunter at a time, while Remedy, Relentless, and Rampage can still be held up to 3 times each.
So there's another talking point. Limiting the stack sizes of burn traits is, so if I find if I find multiple burn traits, I can keep multiple burn traits on my hunter. Obviously, once they're burned, they're gone, and then you have another one to use. I don't know about you guys, but in my entire time playing, I might have gotten a second burn trait, a stackable burn trait, maybe once. So this is kind of like null point to me. It doesn't really affect me. Maybe there'll be one day where I find a second one and I can't carry it, and I'm like, oh, but what are you gonna do? You know what I mean?
This leads us to our first newly modified trait, Necromancer. Necromancer is now a single-use burn trait with a stack size of 1, which costs 4 upgrade points. It also no longer drains your health when attempting to revive a downed teammate. What does this mean for solo hunters? Solo hunters using Necromancer receive a single restoration of all their health chunks as they get back up, but they can only attempt to get up a single time as Necromancer is now burned on use. The cooldown for self-revive has been reduced slightly as a balancing step.
So, okay, Necro. This is the thing that everybody's freaking out about, There are some cool uses that I've heard that could be possibilities. So, Necro now, you can only use it once when you're solo. It's a burn trait. You can only use it once. But when you do use it, you get revived with full health, opposed to, it used to be you would lose a bar until you ran out of bars, and you could revive until then. One point that I heard brought up, which could be very interesting to me, is, so Necromancy, when you use it, it activates a restoration effect for all health chunks, right? So let's say you've been burned, you've been down multiple times, and you're down 2, 3, 25 health chunks. All you have to do is activate Necro, hit that Necro button in teams, let's say, and you get a full restoration. Like, I can already see the clips coming out of people using Necro to fully heal, and then, like, the person using Necro, I'm pretty sure it will fully heal the person using Necro as well. And I can already see some great clutches and stuff like that happening, so I'm super excited for that. Another use I heard of it is, again, let's say you're solo and you are down multiple health chunks, and you were to go and jump off a high ledge, and then Necro yourself and be res with full health, so you get a full restoration effect, right? Yeah, you'd be down Necro, but you can go into the fight full health. Like, it's interesting to think about the strategies that we could do with that. And then in my experience, mainly in duos, I don't play a lot of trios, but in duos, when using Necro, per game, maybe once a game, I find a good use for it. Most other times, because of solo Necro, people are camping all bodies. You know what I mean? Like, it almost be useful, I guess. One, you don't lose health as you use Necro anymore when you're in trios. So, in my experience, when I use Necro in trios or duos, 90% of the time my teammate gets downed anyways, right? So, I don't see it as a nerf. A lot of people are calling it a nerf. I see it as a buff, as in, when I usually use Necro, it usually is once a game. If I try to use Necro and they're camping the body, all right, back to the lobby. You know what I mean? So, but right, calm down. I don't think this is ruining solo play. one, I wouldn't mind seeing Necro gone completely, because I hear about the guys back in the day when they were playing solo and they didn't have Necro, you know, they had to make it work. So recently I've been playing without Necro to kind of challenge myself to prove that I can do it, you know. So alright, but I'll let the video play. I'll stop talking.
Over the last year, we have introduced more ways for players to get back into the fight after being downed. These changes have had a positive impact overall, but have also introduced many points of frustration and contributed to stalemate situations. Having reflected on your feedback and the available data, we are making adjustments to burning and revive mechanics to reduce stalemates and bring more decisive closure to player versus player fights.
So real quick, what I know is they're making, when you burn a downed player, they're making the time to burn them out completely shorter. I'm not sure how much, maybe he'll go into it. Big fan of that. It's going to help out with those points that I've complained about a lot, where it's not fun for either player when you're sitting there waiting to revive yourself and somebody's sitting there watching you burn out, right? It's just not fun. I will say, I think it's going to make Necro less useful in the sense of people who use it to kind of not spam it, but you know, use it to the point of exhaustion, I guess. You know, now if I have a solo on the ground, I solo and I find a solo and I kill a solo and I burn that solo, I'm carrying a flare pistol. I have 3 burns, you know, plus whatever I can find. It's annoying to have to burn a hunter 3 times, then watch them get up again, and I no longer have a burn. And I guess, how should I put this? The way I see it is, now when I'm playing solos and I down a solo, I burn that solo, they get up, I kill them, that's done. I don't have to use any more burns. I can save my burns for when I'm playing against teams, like if I'm playing 1v2s and I down one of the teammates, I'm going to want to burn them to put pressure on that second player. I see that as almost a buff for like items like the flare pistol, if you get what I'm saying. It's very annoying not having a burn when you're 1v2, you know, because it's so essential to put pressure on that second person. So many times you get a player down and that's last player does not want to push you. They're looking for a way to necro their teammate. So that's been one of my biggest complaints, is like he's talking about with stalemates, where neither team wants to do anything and you're both kind of stuck. Like, well, I don't want to push you and you're camping my buddy's body, so I'm not going to necro him. So I'm going to sit here and peek weird ass angles until I magically find some way to headshot you. It's not fun. But with the way they changed necro, I think we'll end up having more burns in total, if you get what I'm kind of putting out there.
Previously mentioned adjustments to Necromancer sit at the heart of this change in direction and are complemented by a much faster burn rate to fully burn out a downed hunter. We appreciate and want to emphasize the play and counterplay of burning and choke effects. We now have choke bombs, beetles and bolts available for players for tactical use, but we are limiting the duration of choke clouds to half the previous duration. This is a deliberate change to reduce the 2 minutes of just waiting out the choke cloud before making the next counter move in the fight. We are aware.
I love this change. Big fan of this change. I just had a game the other day where I knew he had a shotgun and I wasn't going to push the compound because he's camping in the compound with a shotgun. So I was looking for some sort of entrance and I was trying to get on top of the building. And I forget the name of the compound, but the only 2 ladders to the building he put choke bombs on. So for 2 minutes I'm stuck without, you know, being able to push up to that upper part of the building where I would find my advantage, and I'd find my height advantage, I guess. So choke bombs are meant to put out fire. Like, that's what they're meant to do. So what this means is basically I down a hunter and I burn them. That teammate throws a choke bomb on him. He's got 1 minute to make a decision. Opposed to 2, I mean, it's a bit of a crazy change, but 1 minute to make a decision, that choke bomb goes away and I burn again. You know what I mean? So uh, I do agree that that's going to help stalemates. Other games where I've had people use choke bombs so that I can't push, uh, and then they end up running. They end up taking off towards the extract, and I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. We all do it. We all do it. We all get a bounty, and then we run for the extract because we're low on health chunks, or low on this, or low on that. My point is that that's not choke bomb's purpose, and I do still think it'll be good for, I guess, if you want to throw a choke bomb to try to get somebody out of cover, I think that will be useful. At the same time, though, I feel like maybe 2% of the players use choke bombs to cut off access points. I don't see it a lot, but when I do see it, it's very frustrating. So that'll be nice.
Aware of the controversy surrounding everything to do with reviving, restoring, burning, choking, and generally stalling out the player versus player fights. Our core philosophy here is to provide mechanics for capitalizing on the advantage of taking down 1 or 2 members of an opposing team, but still have room for clutch counterplay and tactics to get your own team back in the fight without dragging out into overly long waiting games.
Like, I'm sure we all know how annoying it is already going in 1v2s and 1v3s, getting an enemy down, right? And you have 2 other people to worry about. So what do? You burn, right? You burn. Everybody knows how annoying it is to maybe get 2 enemies down, burn those 2 enemies, and the last dude throws a choke bomb and doesn't want to push you. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's gonna make people are so focused on the necro, but I think things like this are in a way gonna help solos. That's just my opinion. You can tell me I'm wrong. I don't care.
As always, we ask you to keep an open mind to the changes and look forward to seeing how loadouts, tactics, and fight times play out in a live environment, as well as survey opinions collected as we go forward.
This is the one I'm excited for.
Moving on to gunplay topics, we are happy to announce that the centered crosshair will be available as the default setting for new players. A lowered crosshair option remains available for players who prefer or are more accustomed to that position. The lack of a centered crosshair has long been cited as a barrier to entry for players transitioning from other first-person shooters into hunt.
So, the centered crosshair, I used to play a lot of Destiny, and a couple months ago, Destiny had just finally added centered crosshair to console play. And for me, I never even noticed that the crosshair wasn't centered. Not gonna lie. I know it's a big issue with people coming from other shooters and seeing that Hunt's crosshair isn't centered. It makes them not want to play the game. Watching Psycho Ghost's video on this, he said, all right, well, now you have no excuses. You don't have any excuses, so come play the game. Come give the game a second chance. And I agree. I think the whole goal for everybody is to get Hunt Showdown's player base higher. That's just gonna make queue time shorter. It's gonna makes like kind of skill-based matchmaking a little better, in my opinion. So me, I probably won't play with a centered crosshair. I think that's just gonna throw off everything I've learned for my time playing Hunt. I don't have an issue with it not being centered. Like I said, I didn't even notice it, so it's kind of, I'm not gonna play with it. But I do think it will hopefully bring people to Hunt or back to Hunt that have played and wouldn't play because of it. So.
And with the August launch, it will now be available for them to consider trying Hunt again, as well as to more effectively onboard players joining us for the first time.
Oh yeah.
We are applying a subtle drop to projectiles at longer distances based on ammo types and weapon characteristics, such as action type and barrel lengths. At extreme ranges, players will now require a bit more skill, judgment, and timing to land those perfect shots.
I really want to talk about this. This is like, to me, this is a crazier thing than Necro being changed, right? Because I'm sure people back in the day when Necro came around, they obviously thought it was too overpowered. The people that played solos without Necro, So I don't think the Necro change is that big of a deal, but this is crazy to me, right? So I had just hit the other day the longest snipe that I've ever hit. It was between like 200 and 250 meters. I was pretty happy about it until I started thinking about this game has no bullet drop. Like, is it that impressive if it really has no bullet drop? Just put your crosshair on a guy and shoot, you know? But I'm personally a fan of this. Some people are complaining, I've seen on Reddit here and there. Um, it seems weird to add it to the game so late, but better late than never, too, I guess. It it's gonna make those long snipes much more rewarding, I guess. You're gonna feel much more accomplished hitting a snipe, and we haven't seen it yet. We haven't been able to feel out how the bullet drop's gonna work. They say it's going to affect uh different ammo types differently. Long ammo is gonna drop more than medium or compact ammo. So, but the reason I paused here, for anybody who watches me play on Twitch or watches my YouTube videos, knows that my most used gun is the uppercut, right? I love the uppercut. It's so good. But if you see here, the damage is at 123, right? It's not in the notes that I've seen. Maybe it is. I don't know. From what I've seen, it's not. But that will not down a player to the body when they're missing a chunk, right? So, little upsetting. If you watch my gameplay, I really am hitting headshots with the uppercut. I really don't. There's a time or two where I down somebody with a body shot, but I do think this is to kind of combat the long ammo meta, which, if you see my recent short, I'm a huge fan of that. Long ammo's been so strong for so long, and it's it's getting old at this point. You know what I mean? So it's going to nerf the players that want to sit out in the woods and hit these long shots. You're gonna have to have a bit more skill with it. You know, your bullets are gonna drop. So obviously we're gonna have to get in and play it and see how it functions. But any nerf to long ammo, I welcome. I don't think it's a crazy big nerf. I mean, I'm guessing a lot of guns. We see here that the uppercut's damage got lowered, but I'm sure a lot of the guns are still gonna one tap to the body when a hunter's missing a small chunk, a small health chunk. And that's really the strength of a lot of long ammo. But yeah, to me, this is welcome. It's gonna play more like other shooters. It's weird me playing hunt and then going to another shooter and never hitting my snipes because I have to adjust for bullet drop again. You know, things like that. So I'm all for it.
Becomes harder to hit the targeted range, we are also ensuring that any headshot will always be lethal at every range, making those kills even more rewarding. This notable.
All right, every headshot lethal at every range. I watched a video the other day and it talked about how Hunt used to have infinite headshot range, and they took it away. Why? I do not know. But considering with the change with bullet drop and stuff like that, if you hit a headshot at, let's say, like 200 meters somehow with the with, let's say, even like the Derringer, if you hit a headshot from that far, you deserve that player to go down. You do. Like, let's just be honest about that. Everybody that plays this game, they hit a headshot like that, they're gonna be pissed. So I welcome it. Sometimes I do challenge loadouts where I'll bring in a melee weapon in the Derringer, right? And I have to try to get a kill with the Derringer or the railroad hammer and try to pick up a gun. Times when I do hit headshots with them and it doesn't kill, and I'm like, now will this affect the Derringer, or is this going to just affect, like, is it going to affect tools? Well, you don't know. I'd assume. I can only assume. I don't see why it wouldn't. But yeah, I'm all for it. Again, another update that I'm all for.
Change greatly mixes up weapon balance and the established meta, and we cannot be more excited for you to try all this out yourselves in August. While we expect speculation or opinions to run rampant with this news, can be assured, sentiment, data, and surveys will as always be the key measures we look at when considering the best course of action. We will be back soon with more topics around our big August launch. Follow our social channels for new videos and updates.
So I think this is the end of the video, but I hope maybe it calms some of the lower star players down that really don't have people to play with and they just play solos. Um, Again, I'm not some 3,000 hour player, you know, like Raj says. I think he said the other day he's got like 11,000 hours. Um, but I think maybe it's worth it to see somebody's opinion that's not one of these 5 6 star players, you know, just see how I feel about these changes. And I'm not too nervous about it. I'm not upset about it. I'm still gonna play the game. Still gonna enjoy the game. You know, I think we'll all be okay. We all just need to relax.